Welcome to Let's Get Into It. I am your host, Sherelle Higgins. Let's Get Into It is a safe space to have real conversations that are meant to uplift, encourage, and let you know you are not the only one dealing with life. Each episode of Let's Get Into It is designed to provide illuminating and thought-provoking information on a variety of topics. In fact, no topic is off limit. If you would like to see a topic discussed, please feel free to make a recommendation. My special guest and I will have a great time discussing topics that the mainstream media wouldn't dare discuss. We will bring these conversations to you with an open mind, respectfully, from different perspectives, and most importantly, with love. Thank you for joining me and my special guest. Now, let's get into Hello, everyone. This is Let's Get Into It, and I am your host, Sherelle Higgins. You know, we as a community have been talking a lot about supporting Black businesses and also taking the opportunity to not only support, but invest in those Black businesses. It is time for us to stop talking about it and be about it. Are we really supporting Black businesses? Are we really putting our money back into our communities? Well, my special guest today is going to tell you how she became a chief executive officer of her own business and also going to talk about her invention. So sit back, relax, and get ready to take some notes so that you too can learn from her experience. And if you are thinking about becoming an entrepreneur or you are an entrepreneur, I'm sure she'll be dropping lots of tidbits for you to be able to learn from. So join me in welcoming my special guest, Nicole Colbreth. Welcome, Nicole.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
I'm so glad you are my guest because I know that as we go forward, particularly over the next few years, it is going to be very important that we are mindful of how we spend our money and that we are, tapping into our own talents and making those talents and monetizing those talents because we all have talents that we can monetize. And so I know that my audience is going to learn a lot from you. So before we get into the nitty gritty, let's just do some background things here. Where were you born and raised?
I was born and raised in Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay. East Coast.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
And Nicole, did you attend college? If so, which college?
Is that a trick question? She's trying to get on me, y'all. Yes, I attended college at Lincoln University. That would be my alma mater, yes.
Okay, and is Lincoln University at HBCU?
Yes, it is. One of the oldest HBCUs.
Okay, and is that why Virginia State be stumping y'all every time?
Look, I knew it. I knew you. I was waiting for it. Look, you give me the business every year.
We love playing Lincoln University.
Listen, I'm sure you do because y'all always win it. It's an easy win for y'all. I get
yes,
it.
Yes, it is. So what a great way to wrap up homecoming is with that easy win.
Look, most of our talents is in the classroom academically. So
okay, we can go with that. We could go with that. So Nicole, how did you pick Lincoln University?
So Lincoln actually was it was recommended to me by my uncle. And it was recommended the first, actually, within the time frame I was moving to Virginia. And I was like, no, I'm moving. I'm not changing my plans. I need a change. I'm moving out of state. And he said, I attended their master's program. And he was like, you can still attend it while in Virginia. So that's a story in itself. Long story short, he said, at least just go through, take the test, see if you test in. And if you test in, go to the open house and then make your decision. Needless to say, I ended up testing in to the master's program. And when I went to the open house, I met 3 other people that were living in Richmond, Virginia, that was actually going to the same program. So pretty much that's how that happened. And I ended up, graduating.
Okay, so let me ask you this, because this is always fascinating to me. Because when I first went to Virginia State, I only went there because two of my older sisters were there, and I had no idea what a HBCU was or the benefits of attending one. Because growing up in the inner city of Chicago, everybody around me looked like me for the most part. And
Right.
so it didn't mean anything to me for me to go to a school where most people looked like me. And so, did you know and understand the importance of attending an HBCU at the time that you went there?
Absolutely not. So let
Oh,
me tell you, um, the first time, and this is going to probably shock you, the first time that I knew that Lincoln University was a HBCU was the first year I went to CIAA.
mm. Oh,
Yep.
wow.
It was the first year. I think that's the first year I met. Did I meet you there, or I met you at no, I think it was state homecoming. But yeah, it was state homecoming. But yep, my first year at CIAA, and I believe that was in 20. I had uh long graduated from Lincoln and everything.
Mm.
Yeah. So I think I went to CIAA for the first time in 2017, I believe it was.
Oh, wow. So that's recent.
20,
Oh,
yep. It was either 2016 or 2017. And that's the first year that I was had no clue.
okay. Well, Jackie posted VSU in the comments section. So we got some other Trojans representing.
Oh, I'm sure. Cause yeah, y'all wrote deep. I can
Yes,
respect
we do.
it.
And so, yeah, it's interesting. I learned, I don't think I understood when I was at Virginia State in the 80s that it was a HBCU and all that that meant. I think it was after I graduated. And you're right, our alumni is tight and our
Yeah,
alumni roll
y'all
deep.
did, yeah. Mhm.
And so I think that's a good thing. And I think we kind of, along with North Carolina A&T, kind of, and FAMU set the stage for it, right? Making sure that, we give back to our university and we support our university and also support our fellow Trojans. I love that about Virginia State. And so, so Nicole, when did you know that you wanted to be an entrepreneur?
Well, I would say probably in my very early 20s.
Okay.
Um, because all through school, even through high school, I've always wanted to be an attorney. That
Mm,
I always wanted to be an attorney. And I was just fascinated by that industry. But after graduating and going to taking undergrad classes part time, I started working for the Boys and Girls Club, and I was working. I went from working in the game rooms with the young kids to working the group homes they had, like the shelters, working with at-risk kids. Then it went from that job to another job, working in a facility with adolescent substance abuse, mental health. And so just from there, I just started building up, experiences. And then that just kind of stuck with me.
okay.
So when I had the opportunity to go to school for my master's, I went for human services. And
Okay. And what was your undergrad in?
so that's the thing, I didn't get an undergrad. So I
Oh,
ended up testing into Lincoln University's master's program
got it.
based on the extensive experiences that I had.
Okay.
So you had to be able to test and you had to score at a certain level in order to be accepted into the program.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so you're the first person I know
Mhm.
who has not done this the traditional way. So this is
Right.
great. This is great information because I don't think a lot of people realize that that's even possible.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if they still have the program, but this was back in 2006 that I did the program because my plan was to move to Richmond, Virginia, and go to VCU
Okay.
to finish my, undergrad and
Mhm.
then, go further. But my uncle was pushing. I mean, when I tell you he pushed me, he was just like, just do this, just do that, and see what happens. And
Right.
so, ironically, when I met the other three individuals at Lincoln, during the orientation, they were going to carpool. So for two years, we carpooled for 5 semesters from here to Philadelphia to go to school.
Oh,
Every year.
wow. Oh, wow. Yeah. Oh, y'all were committed
Yep.
because that's about a 5 hour drive.
That's
Oh,
four
about
hours.
four.
About
Okay.
4 hours. Yeah.
Yeah.
It could be a
Okay.
little longer depending on traffic. So we had like 15-hour days. Left at 4 a.m., got back at 11 p.m. So
Okay.
yeah.
So, Nicole, what's the name of your business?
Which one?
CEO business. Mhm.
Neighborhood community services.
Oh, so, I'm sorry. Say that again.
Neighborhood community services. So I
Okay.
have three businesses, so that's why. So
Okay.
neighborhood community services was my first business.
Hmm.
So that's my mental health counseling agency.
Okay. And what's the other two?
So Con Management is my consulting company. I consult with businesses and individuals who want to get into mental health, substance abuse, group home. So I help them navigate that and help them, with infrastructure and systems. And then my product business, which is Quicklit.
Okay, we're gonna get into quick wins in a minute. So,
Uh-huh.
okay, that's great because most people that I know in my small circle of people, usually, find one, thing and try to stick with that as opposed to branching out. So I think that is that's a very important tip is to branch out, right? And
Right.
so with your first business, um, what's some of the early obstacles that you had to overcome in getting started?
Oof. Just first off, being comfortable with networking, you know, networking, don't be afraid to network. But obstacles definitely, of course, finances, because it's not easy to get a business loan right, from the jump, because there's a lot of red tape behind it. There's a lot more resources now than there was when I first started, my mental health counseling agency. However, just, I would say, making sure um, you have a good enough financial cushion to be able to push your business. I think I made the mistake of quitting my job too soon.
Mm, okay.
So I was working for the Richmond Police Department, and I think I left my job way too soon before things started to take off.
Oh, okay.
So definitely, I should have. What I know now is what, when I started my first business, it should have been I should have built it as a side hustle,
Okay.
and stayed in
Mhm.
my full time until I got it to where it needed to be.
Okay.
So
Okay. That's a good tip.
yeah,
Don't quit your real job until you can get your side hustle up and running. Because
absolutely.
you'll
Yeah,
need the financial resources to sustain yourself and
right.
keep your business going. And so So, what kept you, Nicole, from giving up early on and going back to, I'm putting this in quotes, corporate America?
First off, a good support system that continues to tell you, you know what, keep going. You may be dealing with these obstacles, whatever. So I definitely have to give it up to my support system. Um, but also, too, I refuse to allow anyone to have control over my paycheck.
Mm,
If I'm going to be broke, I'm broke because of me, not
hmm.
because of someone else. Or if I'm, maybe losing a job or losing a contract or whatever, that's because of me, not because someone has control over me. Um, and so that is ultimately, one of my big reasons why. Um, and how I got into the consulting business was because I knew I wasn't able to put my hands on a large sum of money to be able to bring my idea to fruition. So I just started consulting on the side as a side hustle just to feed my product company.
Hmm. Well,
But
that's
then,
no,
hmm?
go ahead. I'm sorry. No, go ahead.
No, but then it ended up turning into a full blown company because I would get referrals. A lot of people was referring me, went into contract with me to do this, to do that. So I was like, well, I guess I need to make something out of this.
Okay.
And
I
so I
think
did.
I think that's important, particularly now in this climate, um, is not letting people have control over your finances, not
Right.
letting these businesses or companies have control over your finances. Because as we can see in this current climate, they are cutting employees loose without a care in the
In the
world.
world.
And
Absolutely.
like they just don't care how you're going to survive. I've seen stories of people working for a particular company for 24 years and just being given their walking papers all of a sudden.
Right.
And so I think that is really an important part. And I think as we go forward, more people that look like us will start their own business and become entrepreneurs because they have been just cut loose from their job that they were accustomed to getting that
Right.
check in weeks. And that is a big step. And so I encourage people to start thinking now, even if you haven't been terminated from your job through no fault of your own, but really start thinking about what can I do to earn money, because
Right.
there's a lot of money out here to be made, and we need to be able to tap into it. And so, with that being said, uh, what advice would you give somebody other than don't quit your job too soon? Um, if they want to be an entrepreneur and want to start thinking about doing something.
My advice would be don't 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 have no fear behind it. If you have an idea or um a vision, start working on it now. Start putting it on paper, start doing your research. There's so much research out there. The information is out there. So definitely just start putting things in motion because there's so many things that you can put in place um, that you don't have to pay anyone to do.
Hmm.
Now, so and then just start putting things in motion. That's what I would say. Don't be afraid to um to execute because we all fail sometimes or we all miss the mark sometimes, and we got to pick ourselves back up and keep it moving. And if you're doing that for a company that you're working for, you can do it for yourself.
Oh, come on now. Yeah,
Hmm.
that is the truth. I think a lot of people get stuck on some of the basic things, right? And I can say this from experience. I think some people get stuck on naming Some people get stuck on what the name of their business is going to be. Some people get stuck on the logo and that kind of thing. And when I was thinking about launching my podcast and I was doing some research, one of the things that I ran across was an article that talked about those two things. Don't get stuck on that
Right.
because most people don't even know what your logo is. And unless you are Nike or McDonald's, people are just not, it's just not going to resonate with people. And
Right. Right.
so I got stuck on what to call my podcast, right? And so I had all sorts of ideas, but none of them really landed with me or they didn't resonate with me. And so finally, one day, let's get into it popped in my head. And I was like, that's it. There it
That's it.
goes. And then
Right.
I was ready to launch after that. But before that,
Right.
as you mentioned, I was writing down ideas of what different type of shows I wanted to have and who I would want to have on the shows and how I wanted to conduct the show. And so it's important for us to kind of, always think ahead, but don't get stuck getting started.
Right. And that's absolutely right. There are authors out there that write their book and don't name their book until the book is done, you
Hmm.
know? So, yeah, getting stuck because of a name, yeah, just if you already have a vision, you have your idea and you just put it on paper. And whatever you put on paper doesn't even have to make sense. Just put
Hmm.
it on paper and then when you revisit, then things will start to fall in place. And then eventually that name will come to you, you know. As far as the logo, if artistry is not your thing, don't worry about the logo. As long as you got your name and you got your vision or your mission, you can contract with somebody to create an amazing logo based on your vision.
Yeah,
So,
I had my niece do my logo back in 2014.
mhm.
And I'm just now, well, in 2024 is when I've been using it off and on here and there, speaking at conferences and things, but I'm just now starting to really use it 11 years later, right? And so, I just think, Ouch Baby Productions is a unique name,
It
and people
is.
often ask the meaning behind it. But I like it, and so I went with it. Actually, I was talking to one of my older sisters one day, and I was like, this was back in 2013 or 2014, and I was like, I need to come up with a name for my business. And a couple days later, she texted me, and she was like, "Ouch Baby Productions." I was like, "Girl, come on now." Why did I think of that? And so I would say, don't be afraid to share
Yes,
your ideas or ask for advice from people that you trust, right?
right.
If you want to be an entrepreneur, because you can't go at it alone. There's always somebody, probably in your circle, who know a little bit more than you do about a thing,
Exactly.
and you should
That is
be
so
tapping
right.
into that resource to help you out. Um, so
Exactly.
I
So
think that.
so what is the meaning of Ouch Baby? Because it is a unique name and you must use your logo. You got to use your logo because branding is important.
Yes, branding
Branding
is
is
everything.
important. Marketing is important. Another tip I would say um, that I didn't do early on in my business too, because a lot of my business early on was word of mouth.
Mhm.
Word of mouth is great, but at the end of the day, sometimes word of mouth runs dry and
Mm.
you need consistency. Marketing is important. Marketing is like 70 to 80% of the success of a business. um,
Mhm.
you have to put marketing dollars into your business.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, we are quick to spend our money on these expensive tennis shoes and expensive pocketbooks and
Right.
expensive clothes, all this
Hmm.
stuff, but we don't want to invest in ourselves.
Right.
And
Right.
and
Happens all the time.
yes, and I know somebody who was trying to start their business, and they were soliciting advice from me and my sister, but they didn't want to pay us, right? And I'm like, that's just not quite how this works. You got to invest. If you're not willing to invest in yourself, I don't know why you would think anybody else would invest in you.
Will invest. Yeah, that is so true. That is so true. And um, giving advice, yeah, I give advice all the time. Like I get bombarded with this, but that's all. I'll give you advice, but there is boundaries when it comes to, well, can you do this for me? Can you,
Mhm.
you know what I'm saying? So,
Right,
and a lot of people don't realize, some people don't value that,
right.
you know,
Or value your time.
or value your time, right? And I was like, look, I have a whole team I gotta pay, you
Absolutely.
know. I got a whole team that I gotta pay. So, because I can't do the work by myself. So
Mm-mm.
when I started getting busy, it's all about putting them systems in place. And
Mhm.
when you hear people talk about putting systems in place, that means they are paying people to make things, let the
Ab-
wheels run,
Oh,
you know.
absolutely.
So
Absolutely. When I first started, when I was trying to get my podcast together, I started playing around with doing the graphics and all of that. And I realized how much time
time, yes,
that
that's too
I
much.
spent on that. And when I hired a team to do it for me, they were knocking it out in 5 seconds. And I was
Right, because that's their specialty.
that's their specialty. And I was like, so you mean to tell me I spent 8 hours working on something that took you 5 minutes to do?
Right.
Yes, you are definitely worth the money. And so I just think, I believe in investing in
Absolutely.
myself. And
Posting and like people don't understand that takes so much time. And there is no way I could do it by myself.
and consistency
Absolutely not.
and being consistent with it.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep.
And so if you're not going to be consistent with it and you want your product to look professional, right? And
Mhm.
so you don't want to just be putting together some home, as I call it, a homemade hairdo, and then going out in the street expecting people to say who did your hair, right?
Right.
And so I love the team that I have. They do an excellent job. They make my life easier, which is very important, right? And
Yes.
so when I'm going back to your question that you asked me about Ouch Baby.
Okay.
So when I was in college, freshman year, there was this guy on campus who was so fine, and when I would see him, he would say, "Ouch, baby." And I had never heard that term before. And it
Mm.
just kind of resonated. And here we are 41 years later.
Oh wow. Just don't say his name so that he won't be trying to come back and get some residuals.
Oh no, that's my husband, girl. He already pimping me out and getting me some business. So we ain't gotta worry about that.
Oh, that's dope. That's dope. That's what's up.
Yeah, so that's kind of how we came up with that. And then we have, of course, Ouch Baby on our cars. And it's a great conversation starter, right?
Right.
So
Mhm.
even, if people are not necessarily looking to hire somebody who speak at conferences or do, whatever I do, it's a great conversation starter. And it's something people will always remember. I
Right.
remember when
Right.
we first moved in our house about 22 years ago, our neighbor saw our tags on our cars, and he was eventually said to us, "Well, what is Ouch Baby? Is that the name of your company?" And this was before 2014. I didn't even have no company. And he was like,
Mm.
"'Cause I Googled it and I couldn't find it." I was like, "Okay, you nosy." So it's
Wow.
definitely a great
That's what's
conversation starter.
mhm.
So it will always be
And
Ouch
it has
Baby.
history.
Yes, yes, and it has
It has
history.
history. Yep.
Yeah, and with it being the second part of it being productions, you can it gives me the flexibility to branch out to do other things. Because when
Right.
I initially did it, it was for speaking at conferences, and then the podcast came about.
Right.
Um, So, we just got to keep reinventing ourselves
And
until we.
that's what I tell my clients that I work with and other people that I have, conversations with that they want to start a business, trying to seek a name. I always say go with a name that has meaning, but also go with a generalized name that it doesn't box you into one industry, you
That's
know?
good.
Yeah, that it don't box you into one industry. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
because like I said, I went from speaking at conferences to a podcast to being an instructor for professional courses, and so it all falls under productions. And so, just opening myself up to do more things. And now that I am wonderfully retired, I have more time on my hands to do more things that I really want to do and the things that I enjoy doing. Because when you start your business, it should not be something that you dread, right? Be like, oh God,
right.
I hate it
Mhm.
here. Like it should be something you actually enjoy. And if it's your God given talent, it'll come to you so easy that you won't even recognize it as a talent.
Right. That's right. Because you enjoy what you're doing.
Yes, absolutely. So, Nicole, walk us through a typical day of a CEO.
Typical day for me. Um, whew. So typical day for me, so I try to restructure my weeks. I'm in a process. The past couple of weeks, I've been trying to restructure my week because I'm always in meetings, back to back to back to back, and I could literally be in like different meetings, in for like 6 hours, you know. But it's very necessary because of all that's going on. But a typical day for me is, I meet with my team almost every day. Um, and I have different aspects of my team because of the different, companies, but I'm literally running all three companies every day. I can't do focus on one this day or this day. So it's just like literally simultaneously. I have a wonderful clinical director for my mental health agency, and director of operations. So they're a huge support, on that side. My director of operations really, she got her hands in both, my consultant and my mental health company, and she runs her own company. But so I do have a huge support team, but there are times that at my group home or my recovery home, you know checking in on staff. When I'm My office is at home, you
Mm,
know my main office is for my staff and for services to be rendered. So, a lot of times I do work from home, unless I'm in face to face meetings. But as you know, that climate has changed. So, is not a whole lot of face to face meetings because you can literally get things done virtually.
mhm.
So, um, yeah, so pretty much just busy.
So,
Is
so I have a two-part question. How important is it to have staff who are committed to your vision? And then the second part of that is, well, I'll wait and let you answer that, and then I'll ask you the second part.
It's very important because for me as a CEO, and as a leader, I expect my team to be able to execute without me having to micromanage.
Come
I'm
on
too
now.
busy. I'm too busy to micromanage. So if I had to micromanage you, you're not a good fit for my team, you
Hmm.
know. Um, and work ethic will show me how committed you are to be a part of our team,
Hmm.
you know. And when I speak to my team, when I meet with my team, it's always, we are a team, you know. And if, you know, anytime we hit a milestone, it's not just me, it's
Mhm.
our whole team that's hitting a milestone, you know.
Mhm.
And I had to make certain decisions because of, you know, because of certain things that don't work out because of who's doing what. And we got to pivot. So you got to be ready for change. You got to be ready to pivot, because that happens often, you know. And so it is important. And people, you got to understand, people that you hire to work for you, you got to know at least at minimum that first 6 months that they work for you is their representative.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
then, you know, true characters, true personality, then you'll start to know if that person's really, you know, the person that they portray they are.
Mhm. Okay, so the second part of that is one of the things we hear often about Black owned businesses is that the customer service sucks. Even though it sucks for non-Black owned businesses too, but we put more emphasis
So
on our
black.
own community. So how important is it that your team, because every business has a customer service component, right? And so how important is it for your team to deliver world-class customer service to your clients?
Oh, it's very important. It is very important because just like you as an individual personally, you have an integrity to uphold, but your business as well. And so I always tell my employees, you you are a representative of the company. And if
Mhm.
you respect the company and you respect your job, then you will make sure that you know, maintain integrity, and
Mhm.
you display yourself with professionalism, and ensure that the service delivery is on point. um, and I always have an open door policy. I always tell my staff, if there's an issue, come to me. You
Mm.
know, if you're having an issue with your direct supervisor, like that's what the grievance policy is for. Come
Mhm.
to me and let's come to the table and let's talk about it.
Mhm.
Because I want people to be able to be comfortable in the environment that I provide, and I want them to be able to also have a voice. You
Mhm.
know, and so in I say inner when we're talking about inner office, I try to create an environment where you are secure in your position, okay, and that you can talk to me, and
Mhm.
we will resolve whatever needs to be resolved. Um,
Mhm.
but at the same time, when you're delivering services, you have to make sure you're on point, because our
Mhm.
consumers is why you're getting a paycheck.
Right. Yes. Yes. It's so important to make sure. I know when I was in the workforce, making sure that people who work for me had a voice,
Yeah.
and having an open door policy, and made sure people felt comfortable enough that they could come to me and tell me something about me and know that there would not be any, consequences to them for that. And
Right.
so, because sometimes as a leader, we get so caught up and we're so busy going to meetings that sometimes we drop the ball. And if we don't have anybody that is on our team who feel comfortable enough to pull out the coattail and say, hey, you slipping right here, or hey, maybe
Right.
you should start doing this a little differently, then it's all for naught.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. And that's the whole point. And some people don't realize what that open door policy means. You
Mm-hmm.
know, that means you can come in and sit down and have a conversation with me, have a open conversation with me without
Mm-hmm.
any consequences. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? And we respect each other. So let's have a
Mm-hmm.
conversation. because we are not perfect.
Right.
Just because I have 3 businesses that I'm running and I'm an entrepreneur, don't mean I'm perfect. You know,
Right.
we,
Don't tell my
we do drop balls and we do, so, and that's important. Yeah.
don't tell my husband he think I'm perfect.
No, ain't nothing wrong with that. Sure. Let your husband think, let your husband think that. Find the background like, So we won't talk about that Washington and Bears. Washington game.
That's the Bears. They weren't perfect. That had nothing to do with me.
I'm talking about when you jumped the gun, it was like
That's what
they're
I'm talking
losing,
about.
and then they came back and woo, if that wasn't funny, I said, yeah, they deserve that win.
That video went viral.
Yeah. Oh, did it?
It had almost 10,000 views.
It should have. It should have. But
so let's switch conversations and let's talk about your invention, because I think this is so cool. So first, tell the audience, what is your invention?
So Quick Lid is a reusable lid for aluminum pans. So I do have it right here so I can show y'all.
Okay, we see it. Yeah.
So, right now we're using aluminum foil, and aluminum foil doesn't secure the food in the pans. So Quick Lid does that. And you can expose the food. And it's see-through in colors, so you don't even have to expose the food if it's something that you don't want to serve yourself.
Okay.
So, and it is, huh?
No, I was just saying, okay.
Oh, okay. And then it's stackable as well, so it's pretty much, and it's 3 pieces, so it can go in the dishwasher. You can wash in the dishwasher, and it's oven safe, so you can definitely put it in the if you wanted to warm your food. If you're going to a party or taking a dish to a party, you can pop it up in the oven and warm it for the food to get warm and safely served. So it's polycarbonate in material.
Okay. So Nicole, what made you come up with this idea?
So I was always a host. Like I was always having get-togethers and everything. But my ultimate light bulb moment was when I was in Florida with a friend of mine. I was helping her because she was pregnant and she became disabled while she was pregnant. So I went to help out with her, the kids, and her husband, and I was doing most of the cooking. And I was literally in the middle of reading Damon John's The Power of Broke. So I already have a mind of, I have a whole factory of every ideas. So my mind just works all the time. But needless to say, this evening I had cooked dinner for everybody, and the kids were driving me crazy. Kept going in and leaving the aluminum foil, peeled back, and leaving the spoon all up. It was crazy. So I was literally just, on the patio, woosine, late night, and just kind of jotting down notes from the book. And I just came up with the idea. Like, I was like, you know what? After cleaning up the mess and everything, I'm just like, there has to be a better way. And that's when I came up with the reusable lid for aluminum pans. I literally woke my friend up in the middle of the night telling her my idea. And this was back in 2016. So it's been a long time that I've been working on this.
And people expect things to happen overnight. So I'm glad you said this started back in 2016, because it just doesn't happen overnight.
No,
right?
it does
Some people
not.
get lucky and have overnight success, but for the most part, that's not everybody's story.
Right.
And so with Quick Lids, I know you're still in the process of marketing and deploying it, but what's some advice you would give others if they have something that they think would be, marketable or sellable, in terms of their inventions. Because I know my husband, he has a lot of great ideas. And I'm like, can you do something with that? And then his thing is he throw it out there and expect me to catch it and run with it. And I'm like, no, brother. Got my own stuff going.
Right. So that goes back to research, Sherelle, because I had my idea and I was sitting on it for a little bit, and then I would revisit. And then what Shark Tank was a learning curve for me too.
Mm.
I watched every episode, and you will learn things. So, and I shared my idea with a friend of mine, that was working in manufacturing at the time. And he was like, "Oh my God, that's a great idea." And so he linked me up with an individual, to sit down with me. And he literally broke down like what manufacturing entails, what creating a product entails. Like, and I had a graphic image, I had a
Mhm.
graphic designer put together that image that I came up with, and he literally broke it down. And when I started, and from there and doing my research, I just started kind of putting things in motion just based on research. And you got to take baby steps, especially me creating this product. I had to take baby steps because first and foremost, to create a product, you need money. But
Mhm.
before even getting to the point of manufacturing, it was so many, it was a huge, like the process was long when it came to finally getting the final design together,
Mhm.
having the right engineer,
Mm.
and she's Black, so I gotta put, my industrial engineer. She's the mom. She lives out of California, and she did an amazing job with helping me finalize the product. You know,
Mm.
so it's a long process, but you have to do your research and you have to be willing to take baby steps
And take advice.
and take advice. Absolutely. And take advice.
Especially
Absolutely.
since you were coming up with something that you had no experience with, right?
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
and
Totally out of my industry.
mhm.
You asked me about mental health and substance abuse. Like, you asked me that industry, I know it like the back of my hand.
Right,
Consulting I do, I know it like the back of my hand. Policies, SOPs, all that, that's my thing.
right.
But when it came to this, I had to learn manufacturing. I had to learn, you know, what manufacturing entails, what creating a product entails, being on the floor in retail rather than being virtual, online. Like, it's so much. It's so black and white, and it's such a difference. So
Mhm.
it's important that you definitely do your research.
Okay. And so, um, so where are you now with the product?
So where I'm at now, we're in the manufacturing stage. So we're not in manufacturing. We're at the stage where we're ready to go to manufacturing.
Okay.
So my team is working on the crowdfund campaign, and we anticipate launching our crowdfund campaign next month.
Okay. And what is
So,
crowdfunding?
so crowdfunding is when you do you market your product, and crowdfund is a platform. You can go to Kickstarter or you can go to Indiegogo. There are other crowdfund platforms, but just depending on kind of where you're at. And you can utilize their platform. And crowdfunding is offering, literally, presenting your product and offering either early buy into your product where they can buy your product, Um, and, you know, as long as they're willing to wait for the product, then, you know, that helps you raise the money. And
Mhm.
or literally it's like donations. People can donate towards your product.
Mhm.
And when you make a donation, then you receive something for your donation.
Okay.
But ultimately is a way to, you know, raise a large sum of money for your product. So
Okay.
you
To
can
get
make
your
it to the next, yeah, next step.
Okay, so crowdfunding basically is raising money so that you have the capital that you need to get your product through manufacturing.
Through manufacturing, absolutely.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. I thought it was important to explain that because some people may not know what that is. Um,
Okay.
and,
Yeah.
and so some people may think that in order to kick off their invention, that they themselves have to have the capital to do it. And so, with you introducing crowdfunding to them, it may spark another route for them to look into to see if
Absolutely.
that would work for them in whatever invention that they want to do. Um, so, when people are doing crowdfunding, I know you are in the beginnings of it, but I'm sure based on your research, what would you say would be like the average amount people would give for through the crowdfunding platform?
So, you know what? I wouldn't say there's an average amount because it depends on what what you're asking for. It
Mhm.
depends on how much you're raising and what package and or what level of donations that they choose.
Okay.
So for example, say if you're selling your product, selling your product early, pre-selling your product as a way to raise money on the crowd fund,
Mhm.
then there may be two, three different packages. One may
Mm,
be 19.99, one may be 49.99, you know.
gotcha.
Or, you know, if we're asking for, you know, like the in-kind donation and perks, that's what they identify them as perks on
Okay.
crowdfund. So, you know, you may go with perk number one, that's, you know, $25, you
Mm,
know. So it's different, but I can tell you that there are crowdfund campaign and marketing is important. You have to have marketing and PR behind it because if you don't, then it's a, you know, great chance that
if you
it may
don't
not have a good turnout. Right, it may
it's
not have a
hard to
good
go
turnout.
funding.
But marketing is very, very important. And but what I will tell you is there are so many ideas that got funded within days and
Mm,
they exceeded their goal, you
mm,
know. But that's not just because of not only just their idea, but is also the marketing piece is important, making sure you're getting it out there.
out there.
You know, our goal was to get 500 email subscribers, you know, and I'm not sure where we're at as of today. You know, we are in